Good evening and salutations, my B&B fans. So, Ridge, Brooke, and Deacon pretty much had the same argument from yesterday. Deacon was sitting there explaining what he was doing, that he was working at a bar, that he was sleeping in a broom closet. And, you can just tell by the look in his face that it kind of hurt him a little bit, to sit there and say that. Like, he's going through a lot just to sit there and be with his daughter. And, this is a guy that could sit there and just take the easy way out, does little cons and everything else. But he wants to sit there and try to do right by his daughter, and he's at a point with his life where he is sleeping in a broom closet. And that's not easy for any person to sit there and really just kind of open himself up to that amount of scrutiny. And Brooke can clearly see that. And it's like, more or less defending Deacon while Ridge is, being Ridge. Now, I do gotta admit, when Deacon just walked on in, just walked in his house like, hey, what's good? Yeah, I think anybody would have been pissed off. Especially knowing that you don't like this person, and this person just walked on in your house like, Ish was cool. Yeah, no, I can totally see why Rich was upset. And of course, he was all like, oh, I don't believe you. You're shacking up with Sheila. You're getting drunk, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, bro. I mean, my whole thing is that I love the amount of mistakes and everything like that Ridge throws his way at Deacon, but acts like he has no skeletons in his closet. Like he's never done anything whatsoever. And he just lived this holier than thou, lifestyle. And I'm like, bro, you've made mistakes before too. I don't know if they're as bad as Deacon, but you've made mistakes before too. But this has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with Brooke. He literally was like, you're sitting there trying to get back with Brooke, this, that, and third. I'm like, bro, you keep it up. You won't really have to try that hard. Because you're going to sit there and wind up driving her away. Which, to be in all fairness, is kind of what he wants, but still, you're not helping your case. And Deacon leaves. Ridge and Brooke had the same argument. Brooke isn't there defending him this time because, she can see that, she didn't know that he was sleeping in a broom closet and just kind of cleaning places at a bar and stuff like that. He didn't know that. She didn't know that. So, of course, she's going to sit there and go to the bathroom and defend him. And there's one point where, Deacon comes downstairs, or he goes to the cabin to, teach Hope karate. And Hope is like, let's go on the terrace. And, Deacon's like, well, just let you know, Ridge and Brooke are arguing again. So, just a heads up. And she's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, wait, you just heard this man just say that they're arguing at the place we're about to go. Maybe we shouldn't go that way. But, of course, they do. And they're over here, Ridge and Brooke arguing about Deacon and Hope's relationship. And once again, nothing comes of it. Brooke is like, we're going to have to sit there and try to find a way to make this work. And of course she brings up Taylor. And basically it's like, listen, we both have, children by other people. And they're both back in town. And we're both sit there trying our best to sit there and navigate through, this crazy time right now. And of course, Ridge kind of looks at that like, whoa, again, you're not going to compare Deacon to Taylor. And it just goes back and forth and back and forth. And once again, Ridge is like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to leave because, I don't want to sit there and keep arguing with you. I'm like, I don't know. Part of me is just like, I get it. You can only sit there and go back and forth with somebody for so long before you're just like, either I'm going to say something that's going to go too far, or I'm going to wind up doing, like this is just gonna just wear on my mental health, and I'm not gonna go there. So he leaves. They overhear this whole thing, and now Deacon feels bad. Hope feels bad. They go in there to try to make sure that Brooke is okay, and she just kind of walks upstairs slowly. Um, and Hope is like, listen, I don't want you to leave. I just have to sit there and trust that their marriage, their love is going to sit there and just work through the storm. Work through the storm. I mean, that's not exactly what she said, but it's almost like something saying, well, I'm going to continue to, see my dad at this house and just hope they work it out. Listen, in a way that sounds kind of selfish, because there are other alternatives to having a relationship with Deacon. And I get that, she wants, she lives at that specific part of the house and she wants to have access to her dad and not feel like her dad has to go somewhere else. But in all fairness, they can go anywhere else other than there. Especially since Ridge has a problem with it. Your mom isn't there. It's straining your relationship. It's straining your mom's relationship with her husband. You would sit there and think, maybe we should hang out at the park, go somewhere else, go out to dinner or something like that. But you just keep bringing them back to the house, knowing the tension and everything like that brings. So, yeah, I can understand a little bit where Steffi's coming from. Of course, Steffi had no problem since they're talking about the Logans and Hope and Brooke and what they're doing to, Ridge, this, that, and the third. And of course, she brings up, oh, well, we can fix that. And Taylor's still like, oh, well, he's always going to be the love of my life and, I'm always going to have feelings for him. I'm like, there's so many men on this planet. How do you, I get it, it's a soap opera, but I'm just like, how long have y'all not actually been together? And you're sitting there telling me throughout that time span, you've never met anyone else. Ridge is the only, hell, even when they got to see each other again, Taylor was sitting there looking at Ridge like that, like he wasn't a married man, like my dude's still single. So yeah, she's all like, oh well, I'm still always gonna have feelings for him, and yada 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 yada. And once again, they talk dirt about. I think they just continue talking about that and Steffi and stuff like that. Now, one of the things that what I liked about what Brooke was saying when she was arguing with Ridge was basically about how Taylor was very absentee as far as being a parent, as far as being in Steffi's life, during the drug addiction, the motorcycle accident, the wedding, the birth of her grandchild. Like, she wasn't there for that, Like, you want to sit there and start talking about the stuff that Deacon did. Okay, fine. He was not perfect. But let's not sit there and try to act like Taylor, is this epitome of perfection, yeah, she was going out there helping people as opposed to Deacon, well, being Deacon, but, yeah, she was going out there and doing good for the world, but where was she at when the kids needed her? And of course, Brooke more or less was sitting there throwing shots at Thomas, and, Ridge was like, oh, I think. And this one, Hope was there. Rich was like, I think that, Thomas should be the primary guardian again. Because he's doing a lot better. I'm like, I think they have a great relationship that's going on. Well, I wouldn't sit there and say it's great. Because right now she does have primary care of Douglas. But yeah, maybe when Thomas does get his own place, they can kind of, divide his time and be like 50-50. But, he says that, and of course, Brooke is like, oh, that's Taylor talking. Taylor got in your head. So it's just this back and forth, this ugly whole thing that's going on. And it's just... And of course, like I said before, Ridge leaves. So Ridge is gone. He just, decides to take a drive, get his mind off of things. Brooke tries to call him a couple of times. No answer. She goes back to that time of, when... How do I sit there and put it? And I remember watching that exact scene. Brooke is at the bottom of, like, this fountain of water or whatever, and there was rose petals that was coming towards, like, at the bottom towards her, and you see Ridge, like, walking down the stairs, and, handing her the flower or whatever. So she was thinking about that time. And it was funny, too, because I was like, I remember specifically that episode. Now, granted, I say I remember that episode, but when I was trying to watch it the first time, this was during the height of the pandemic, where, a lot of shows were shut down, and they were showing a lot of repeats. But I remember watching that specifically. Anyway, Ridge winds up going to Steffi's place, and Taylor's just right there, just looking at him, like my man is single again, just smiling, and I'm like, I think that's about it. But it's really interesting the way that the pace of this show works, because I'm pretty sure it has a lot of fans and followers of the show and have been watching the show for years. And I'm just like, how does anyone, like, not just DC Sanctuary, but there's a lot of people, even people that come to the store or whatever, and they talk to me about it, and it's like, yeah, you can miss out on it, a week or whatever, 2 weeks, and come back, and you're all pretty much kind of caught up. And I'm like, how do they just keep that pace going? Just really expect people to sit there and just watch it all the time, there's people that sit there and watch it every day. I mean, I watch it every day because I like to always keep up with stuff, as far as what's going on. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it's like watching yesterday and watching today. It just would have been better for me if I wasn't doing reviews. It just would have been better for me if I just would have just, recorded Monday and Tuesday and just watched it on Wednesday. Because there's not a lot that happens. I mean, yesterday it started the argument with Ridge and Brooke, and today they kind of just ended it. And I'm like, man, it takes 2 days to have an argument. It takes just think about that concept for a minute. Most shows you watch, it's an hour or whatever, and they have an argument, and it's boom, they either make up, or they're just like, whatever, and they just kind of just go to separate ways for a little bit. But with this, it's like you start an argument, and then the next day, maybe it continues, and then the third day, it kind of ends. Like, I remember when Finn was sitting there talking to Jack, and they started that whole argument, about Jack, telling the truth, and Finn being upset, and Lee being hurt, and Steffi just kind of standing there, being supportive, I guess. I remember that took like 3 days, and I'm just like, this is, like, unreal. Don't get me wrong, I like this show because it definitely, I love GH, and I'm really into Days. GH specifically will have his good days and his bad days. And with this show, sometimes it's not as heavy as GH is because it doesn't have the enormous amount of cast. And just a ton of stuff that's going on. So a lot of times I sit there and watch this show and it's just a lot lighter. But then it's like you get into the show and it's like, alright, well, it took like 2 days to finish this argument, so I guess it's going to take 2 days for Taylor and Rich to sit there and talk about whatever. So that's great. Anyway, I think that's about it. If I forgot anything, please write it down in the comment section below. I want to thank everyone for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.